Welcome, everybody. I'm Selena Rezvani, and you are joining Women and Work Culture. We are all about those positive habits and practices for boosting women's leadership. I am so excited to be here today with the expert on business relationships, and that's Simon T. Bailey. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you so much. So good to be with you, Selena.
So glad to have you. What an honor. And a big hello, a warm welcome to our community. We are so happy to have you each week so we can learn together from experts like Simon. Drop us a line. Tell us who's out there today. Let us know where in the world you're joining from. Simon and I have Philly and Florida covered. We also see Philly suburbs in the house, Tampa Bay in the house. Welcome. Simon, let me fluff your pillows a little bit because you are incredible. I've been watching your speaking for years, and I want to tell others about you. Simon's an executive advisor, a career mentor, and a keynoter, of course, at Simon T. Bailey International. His life's purpose is to teach 1 billion plus people how to be fearless and create their futures. We can get behind that. That's amazing. Simon was named one of the top 25 people to help you reach your goals. Guess who else is on that list by Success Magazine, by the way? Oprah, Tony Robbins, Brene Brown. Pretty epic, Simon. You so belong, 400% belong on that list. Simon's a 10-time book author, and he's a fellow instructor at LinkedIn Learning. And he brings so many tips in his courses to really help you build those meaningful business relationships. So we're so excited to have you today doing an AMA with us, and Ask Me Anything. We have gathered some of your questions already around relationships, but I want to encourage you all to ask away today. If you have a question about starting a relationship, sustaining a relationship, maybe even stopping a relationship, right? Because let's be honest, sometimes they stop serving us. So let's dive right in and get to some of these questions. One of our first, Simon, comes from Sangeetha. And she has this question about a little thing called small talk. She says, I find it hard to bond with folks and make small talk, especially remotely. Do you know a way that I can start to do this? Any thoughts, Simon?
Yeah, I would say the first thing is be interested and be interesting. So when you're interested in others, you start with something you may notice about them or something that they may have mentioned when they introduce themselves. And it's from that interest that you spark a dialogue and say, did you notice this or have you seen? What did you think about what you heard on the news or what you read in the paper? And that's how you literally start the conversation. It's interesting. It's different.
Ooh, I love that. So something that they have a high likelihood of knowing about, right? News headlines, something universal.
Yes.
And hooking onto that. I love that, especially the idea of being interested.
Yes.
You know,
and then
like
you say, tell me more. If you want to keep the conversation going, once people get into it, say, tell me more, because people love to hear themselves talk.
Yeah. That is so true. Universal truth bomb, I think, right there. It's true. And really, if you think about it for us, you know, all of us listening, how often do you feel like someone generously listens? Like no one else is there. You know, it's a way to stand out. So I love your advice. Here's a kind of slightly different question. It comes from Carla, and she's talking about that VIP special category of relationships you have with your boss, right? Where you might not handle that relationship, you know, the same exact way you would every other one. She asks, how can I manage the relationship with my boss who just joined my organization? What do you
Wow.
think, Simon?
Carla, this
Yeah.
is such a great question. And believe it or not, Selena, I just got this question a couple of weeks ago from a young lady, same situation. How do I approach a new boss? Well, here's the first thing. Set up a time to get on their calendar and go and take them to lunch or ask to go to lunch with them. Why going to lunch? And certainly in a world of physical distancing now, you'll practice that. But what you want to do is be on neutral territory because you want them to see you for who you are, not behind a desk in an office or even in a building, just a very neutral place. And then hopefully you've done some research, perhaps on LinkedIn, to find out something about them that's made them successful. And you want to say to them is, listen, I want to see you succeed, and I want to be the best team member that I possibly can. What is it that I can do to help you to succeed? And you start with that question, what can I do to help you to succeed? Because they're like, what? No one has ever asked me that before. And then you follow up with the second question and say, I notice that in reading, you are interested in XYZ, bring that up. Can you tell me more? And then a third question you can follow up with, is there anything that I can do to help tell you more about the company, tell you about our team, really set you up for success? That's how you can start to build that rapport with a new leader.
Oh, this is so good. How can I help you succeed? It's almost like if someone asked you that, you'd be like, oh boy, get your get your notepad out because I have a lot of to-dos for you. It's so exciting to be asked that, because often people are asking of you. They're not saying, how can I help? So I love that way of setting yourself apart, and the neutral territory.
Yes.
Do you think, Simon, that's because you're more peer-to-peer that way, or is it something else at play versus being in the boss's office?
Yeah, going to the boss's office, and we know sometimes people are working remote, but sometimes going to the office, it almost kind of puts you as certainly boss or leader to a team member. And it's to your point that you just made, you almost want to be seen neutral, peer-to-peer, meaning you're new to the company. I've been here for a minute. I think I can help cut down your learning curve. So let's meet on just a level playing field. And it's also a way to do a little brown nosing early on, if I'm keeping it real.
Well, it's almost like they're more likely to be a little more real. Aren't all of us, going to let our guard down more in a coffee shop or a restaurant than the office? We might reveal more. So I love that point. I hadn't thought about it, but it gives you maybe a deeper chance to bond. We are hearing from Adrian all the way in Romania. Amazing. So happy to have you. And it looks like Adrian's question is really similar to another one we have, which is about being the only, potentially being the only woman on an all-male team. Thoughts on bonding with others when you are noticeably different?
Absolutely. Adrian, first of all, thank you for this question. The thing that I would encourage everyone listening to us, if you want to bond with men and you're the only woman on the team, one of the things I'd invite you to consider is when you are answering or giving feedback specifically around a business issue, if you can talk in numbers, concrete numbers as to how did this come to be, give the narrative or the backstory to how you got to the numbers, something very concrete. And the more you do it, more often you are seeing like, whoa, you know your stuff. Because unfortunately, men stereotype women by like, she doesn't know the numbers, she doesn't know what she's talking about. And the moment you literally hit us right between the eyeballs, it's like, wow, she knows the numbers. What? So talk in numbers, very concrete, or give them examples as to why something came to be, and not from the emotional standpoint, because the moment you go emotional, men shut down. And that's not to say to take away from who you are. What I'm saying is give them an example. When this happened, here's why it happened. Here was the outcome. Very 1, 2, 3. And they can follow that talk track and say, okay, so here was the example. Instead of getting caught up, well, what did she mean by that? That was a little gray area. I didn't really understand which, and sometimes men won't clarify to say, so what do you mean by that? Because it truly is, they'll hear it, it'll go in one ear, out the other. So giving the backstory succinctly helps them get it.
This is great because I'm married to one of these people who speaks this way. And, you know, numbers, my husband's a scientist and like a physician, and that's how he thinks, right? And I remember practicing a really high stakes conversation with him. And his feedback to me was, you shaved the edges so much off of what you said that I kind of lost the meaning, you know, like be more direct. And that stayed with me. So I love your message that there's power in what's undeniable. What's undeniable in your field? Numbers, metrics, you know, data, forces and trends, you know, whatever, the competitors. What is ironclad?
Yes.
And sticking with that, right? Not the innuendo, not the I think, I believe, I feel, right? but the numbers show.
And it doesn't hurt to throw a sports metaphor in there every now and then. That'll go a long way.
Right. Just don't get them crossed. Right?
Yes. You don't score a touchdown in basketball. We don't score a touchdown in basketball.
Right.
Would not go over well.
Right. Don't call it the Stanley Bowl. That doesn't exist, right? You can't like mix your stuff up too much. That would totally happen to me. We have a great question. And for those of you joining, so good to see you, Francie Rawlings, Adrian, Anissa, really happy to see you. Keep those questions coming. We have a really juicy one, Simon, that comes from Rita. And this is juicy because I think it happens a lot, but it kind of feels like we're not supposed to talk about it. She says, my peer tries to give me direction and to-dos, delegating not great work to me. How can I push back?
Get in his face and pull him to the side and give him some direct feedback. And I'm talking about take him to the room of understanding and help him understand that, listen, I don't report to you. And if you're going to step to me, here's how you need to do it. In other words, I will shut down and totally ignore you. Just hit him right between the eyeballs.
So that's really clear advice. Really going direct. I love this. You know, a lot of us, and I think a lot of women are conditioned to put it just so, you know, let me put the other person at ease. Let me be extremely sensitive to what, you know, but that's what's really counterintuitive about your advice, which I love.
Because here's the deal. What you permit, you endorse. So if you permit them to walk over you, they will continue to do that. So handle your business and put them in check now.
Anissa saying, be direct. I love it. It's so easy to dance around the subject. And it's true. It's true, isn't it?
Exactly.
We have another one, and I know, you know, you've written an entire course about this and recorded an entire course about it, Simon, sponsors. You know, we know women and people of color are less likely to have these sponsors, these powerful advocates in their corner. Mariam's question is simple, but really important. I want to build trust with this person, my sponsor. Any advice for doing that? What do you think?
Number one, find out what they're interested in. What projects are they leading? What charities do they give to? What is near and dear and important to them? And you find a way to get on that project team or make a donation to the charity, even if it's volunteering your time. Show them that you just are not going to show up with hat in hand to take, but you also are going to come from a disposition of giving. And once they know that it's not just about you, that you're moving from me to we, they will trust you more and say, you know, I've noticed your behavior. And I noticed that you're not like everyone else that just rolls up to see what they can get from me. So here's what I'm going to do for you. Tell me more. But sometimes you have to invest before you make a withdrawal. So if there's nothing in the account, you have nothing to withdraw from. So invest a little sweat equity and emotional and relationship equity before you make a withdrawal.
Oh, this is so good. Francie saying, love Simon's freshness and directness. It takes confidence and courage. And here's another example you're giving us of being direct, right? Not dancing around, not using telepathy to guess what's important, right? But coming out and asking.
Yeah.
And why not?
And do
Right?
the unthinkable. Like after they give you advice, send them a handwritten note. I know that's old school, but handwritten note on good stationery, not cheap, chintzy stationery. Nice stationery, personal stamp if you don't send it in our office mail. And when they see that, they will see your intention to be a person of excellence and they'll want to help you.
That's beautiful. I have a feeling too, that goes back to some of your Disney, training and mindset of demonstrating care.
Yeah.
Honestly, Simon held senior roles at Disney, and you see that come through in that style of thinking, right? And managing your relationships. Adrian has another, which is a little bit more around pitching yourself and your ideas. It's kind of specific, but I wonder, what do you think about approaching investors or generally pitching yourself and your business ideas?
When you want to pitch yourself to investors, the first thing you have to think about is what is the purpose of the real purpose of the business, not just the profit, because people they're going to look for the profit. But there's a book I want you to get a hold of, and it's called Firms of Endearment. And they have studied businesses for the last 10 plus years, and even the next businesses that they're highlighting over the next decade. And what they're saying is businesses that put purpose before profit will become more profitable. So what encourages investors in this world to look at your business differently is, do you have a triple bottom line? In other words, obviously the shareholders are going to benefit. Those who you work with are going to benefit, but the community where you are looking to do business is going to be transformed by what you do. And I believe investors are very sharp now. They're looking for those who out the gate are thinking about that triple bottom line and build a story around how you intend to help the least, the last, the lost, and not just make money, but make meaning. Because investors, they just don't, some just don't want to make another dollar, and it's meaningless. So what you want to do is position and pitch your business to be meaningful and make money.
I love it. And, in so many ways that extends to the workplace too today. Don't we all want to, don't we all prefer to work for a cause or a mission more than completing the task? It's like, and I love that way of thinking. Lots of people loving this. Melissa saying, love the points about being direct. It's so hard to do sometimes, but great advice. So some feedback for you. Well, we love advice, but we also sometimes love unadvice, what not to do. And so we have a great question from David. Is there a single most common relationship mistake that you see professionals making?
Constantly apologizing for your intelligence and how smart you are, or they would say in Boston, wicked smart. I think sometimes you diminish your intellect to fit in to a certain situation and to be seen as one of the team. And the reality is, when you don't know your worth, you give people permission to treat you any way they see fit. So do not shrink, because sometimes you can have a 50 by 60 dream, but you associate with people that see you through an 8 by 10 lens. And what you have to begin to realize, your worth will never be valued if you don't value it. So be open, be direct, state who you are and what you're worth, and you'll get more respect, because people will honor you, that you honor yourself enough to be strong and know who you are.
That's so beautiful. I love that. Getting lots of heart emojis for that. It's true. It's when I'm sometimes asking people about talking about accomplishments, it's always shocking. When I'm encouraging people to do this, and I ask the managers in the room, hey, do you like it when people share their worth, their accomplishments? And they're all like, yeah, it keeps me informed. It helps me do my job better. So you're not just gloating here. You're not just grandstanding or something. You're actually keeping people informed about what you do, what you
Totally.
do, what you bring. They don't remember what your degree's in. You know, they don't always know you have 10 years of experience in such and such. So I love that. You've got to be the leader in it. Honor yourself, Michelle says.
And I think every day, sell yourself on yourself. The more you sell yourself on yourself, you develop that neurological pathway to be strong and confident in who you are.
Wait, that's very exciting to me. Would you dig into that a little more? Selling yourself on yourself. A lot of this community will be curious to know how you do that.
Yeah. So first of all, realize sometimes in business and in life, something happens and you build a story around what's happened, and the story becomes bigger than what's happened. So in order to hit the Control Alt Delete button that deletes from your mind drive and the hard drive that thing that happened, you sell yourself on yourself by writing on your smartphone or writing down what's right about you. Because when you focus on what's right about you, you stop building a story about what went wrong, because sometimes that story like takes off and it becomes this whole other thing that diminishes your confidence. So selling yourself on yourself is literally upgrading your verbal software, because language is the software of the mind, to begin to upload into your mind drive and your hard drive. This is what is right about me.
So powerful. I'm holding on to that. Let's all get that tattooed to ourselves, because that the importance of that reminder is so huge. Lots of thumbs up, we're seeing for that comment. And it's so true. What's right about me, not what am I not ready for? It's so easy to say, I am not enough of, I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. And I really like the opposite approach. I want to stay in that vein for a minute, because we got a question from Delphine Simon, who asks, I constantly compare myself to colleagues and I feel awful after. Who among us doesn't, right? When we do that, how do I stop doing this?
So Delphine, the best way to overcome comparison inferiority complex is to, at the end of the day, begin to write down, what did you accomplish, and celebrate it, no matter how small, medium, or large it might be. And do this every day. And you're probably saying, why? Because Delphine, the moment you begin to say, you know what, I did that, it builds up your confidence. It builds up your self-esteem. It builds up your self-worth. And what happens is you begin to vibrate into the universe that, you know what, I've got this and I kind of got it going on. That's not arrogant or anything. That is just the internal dialogue that allows you to move quicker and faster in believing in you.
And it's perfect, because one comment we just got was, it can feel weirdly arrogant to toot your own horn. What's exciting about what you're saying is it's just facts.
It's just facts.
It's just facts. I got these 7 things done today, and that feels good. That's enough to celebrate.
Yeah, it's like the story of Picasso sitting in a restaurant and a woman notices it's Picasso. She goes over to Picasso and say, hey, can you draw me something? And he whips out a napkin and draws it in 10 minutes. And she proceeds to take the napkin, and he said, that'll be $10,000. And she said, but it only took you 10 minutes. He said, no, it took me 50 years. So when you understand your worth, you never diminish yourself. You always celebrate yourself instead of being tolerated by others.
That's so beautiful. I love it. Wow. Michelle says, I want to stay on this vein of thought of putting yourself in the limelight, right? Anna asks a question that's really apropos to our current world. In this virtual environment, when I deliver on my work, nobody seems to notice. Any thoughts on getting on people's radar remotely?
Yeah. So one of the things I want you to think about during this remote time, serving is the new selling. And I know people don't like to sell themselves, but you can serve and it doesn't come off like you're selling. So in other words, find out what your other remote team colleagues need, where there's a pain point, what they might be going through. And what would it be like for you to say, have Panera bread delivered to them, or something that's just a little surprise. Now you're probably saying, what does that have to do with selling? What you're doing is you're serving them based on something that they need, and they will remember you, not trying to get them to approve a project or to say yes to what you have going on, but you came alongside them and emotionally connected with them. All of a sudden it opens them up to say, that was different. Tell me more. How can I help you? So how do you realize that serving is the new point of connection to really advance your career?
That is exciting. I like that. It reminds me, I'll never forget having the pleasure to interview a president at Saks Fifth Avenue. And I said, how'd you get here? And she said, what you just said. She said, I treated my internal customers like my #1 VIPs, and that service mindset. So what a great way to kind of get seen when you feel invisible, or maybe you are more naturally reserved, or you feel like, video conference is diluting your
Sure.
contribution. That's awesome. Well, Simon, I know our time is limited. And so I just want to ask you, is there a parting truth bomb you would like to leave people with? When you think about managing relationships in the times we're living in, what do you want to really stick in our brains?
Relationships are the currency of the future. Stop selling and start connecting, because when you try to sell yourself or promote yourself, that's transactional. But when you build a relationship, I'm now relating to the cargo in your ship. And wherever you are going on the ocean of life, based on the last interaction, I take you with me on that ocean of life and build a relationship. So I'm intentionally mixing metaphors, but relationship is the currency of the future, that you move in the same direction together.
That's awesome. Oh, Simon, thank you. This has been, so many pearls in such a short amount of time. I want to thank you because, relationships can be this mysterious thing. Honestly, they can. Where do you start? How do you keep at it? How do you sustain and revive in some cases? And you're really demystifying that for people and showing them the process. So thank you for all the work you're doing to help us put relationships first and to find our spark, right? Our
Yes.
spark, so we can go do big things, not alone, but with others. Everybody, in the show notes, you are going to see links to Simon's really incredible work, his courses at LinkedIn Learning, his really insightful books on his website, which you'll find, and also his videos too, which will completely change your mood for the better. That happened to me more than once. I hope you'll also stay in touch with me. Check out my LinkedIn Learning courses about turning up your confidence and really making your presence felt. Be part of my newsletter tribe. Follow me here on LinkedIn, and Simon as well if you're not. Thank you, everybody. I hope you'll stay healthy, stay well, and lead on. Thanks so much.